tips to accelerate your career with top companies and meet leading business disruptors who will share pivotal moments in being a successful leader. This is the Forward Motion Business Show with Professor Ken and Professor Paul A. Marino.
Hey, welcome to the Forward Motion Business Show. I'm Professor Ken.
And I'm Professor Paul Marino.
And we're coming to you live from the FIU Chapman Graduate School of Business. And today, Paul, we have a fun guest, right? All of our guests are fun, but I think you bring a little more fun to the guest. So tell us about who our guest is today and from Tripping Animals.
Well, I'm very proud to have Iker Elorriaga here today with us. He is one of the founders of Tripping Animals Brewery, which is located in Doral. And he has such an interesting story. You're 4 young gentlemen from Venezuela, right?
That's correct.
Tell us a little bit about how this all came together.
Yeah, for sure. Well, first of all, thank you guys for the invitation and hosting us in here. It's our pleasure. Tripping Animals Brewing, it's a company that we're based in Doral, like you mentioned. We are currently in our 8th year of operation. So in November, we turn 8 years. And this was literally a very similar story to a lot of breweries, right?
Mm-hmm.
That started as a hobby, as just trying to get friends together around something that is an ancestral,
Mm-hmm.
item. Beer has been forever,
Right?
Yes, which is kind of beautiful because it has surpasses all the wars and everything, and we still got beer. And when we started making beer, we realized the beauty of what it made happen, that it was just get friends together.
Mm-hmm.
And from that, what started as a hobby then became a little company in Venezuela that we were starting to sell our beer to high-end restaurants and to some, people that had a more intrigued palate that want to try new things. And then 10 years ago, we decided that we want to make a living out of making beer.
Right.
So that's when we moved here to the United States.
Mm-hmm.
And we started, searching the right location, putting together all the plans, and 10 years forward, here we are.
That's great. Congratulations on that.
It's a pretty significant facility. How many square feet is it?
Yeah, so we have a 15,000 square facility,
Mm-hmm.
which allow us to grow and make a lot of beer. Right now, we're almost like at 50% of the capacity that we could reach on that building. And that was, that was one of the things that what we saw when we started to do the research. Of course, we were looking at the path that other breweries that were already open before us, kind of like how they had been doing and all that stuff. And we saw that the space was one of the biggest constraints for growth, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of the breweries had outgrow their space, within 1 or 2 years. So, since it was a very, and it still is, an ambitious project where we want to, grow and really make more than a company, a place for the community, we decided to go with a bigger, warehouse from the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
which is nice, but it's also challenging,
Of course. I was at your facility. I think it was Saturday, wasn't it?
Correct.
You had a big festival.
Yes.
And it was so well attended that they took over the next street parking lots and where they were. Tell us about your events. When's your next event?
Yeah, for sure. So since we started, we have always tried to focus on creating experiences, right? Beyond just a product. There's a lot of great beer and great producers out there. So we realized that our opportunity, it was to connect with people, through experiences that went beyond just having a good beer. So from the beginning, we started doing beer festivals, food festivals, music festivals, art festivals, right? So a very wide range of activities. And Airy Jungle was like our first staple like festival, because it's also a beer festival, which this was the 6th edition. We had 1,000 guests this year. We had 80 breweries from not only across the U.S. but also international breweries. We actually received recognition from Councilman Piñero during from the city of Doral during the festival, and it's it's beautiful because it's a blend of culture. It's a blend of many beautiful things happening at the same time that it just makes us happy to be able to bring these type of activities to our city.
Well, I want to interject a little bit. It is a beer festival, and the
Yes.
beers are amazing, but the food was off the chart. You have a new chef, correct?
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about her.
Yeah, for sure. So when we started, running the taproom operation. We started running the brewery, but we didn't have the experience. This is a family-owned business. So 4 families, we got together. We, raised the funds within our group, and we started this, dream. And when we started, we didn't want to cover more than what we thought that we could. So we always had a third-party company doing our food.
Mm-hmm.
And then about like a year and a half ago,
I remember that.
yeah, that was a great time for us. We took the initiative or the risk to take over the food program, and we were able to count with the talents, and the capacity of the chef Estefania,
Mhm.
so that she also happens to be my cousin, so we have always like admired her work in other restaurants, in other places. So like a year and a half ago, we were like, timing, because in business and life, sometimes it's timing what allows things to happen. It worked out because she was kind of like on a spot of like transitioning.
Mhm.
We were able to offer her, something that was exciting and new for her. And it changed, it really changed her
Oh, it
business.
changed the whole atmosphere. The food
Yeah.
has made a quantum leap. But I also understand that you do food festivals, correct?
Correct.
Isn't one coming up?
Yes. So we have, besides Harry Jungle, that we always do it around April.
Mhm.
And then we have this Keep the Line, that it's also a festival that it's, like you were mentioning, more chef oriented.
Mhm.
So we always try to curate between 12 to 14 food vendors of restaurants that carry or that sell, our beer in the restaurants. And what I think that makes our events special or different is that all the people that we invite is people that we admire, or people that we look up to what they do, and the possibility of like building experiences together with people who admire at some point, or you follow what they do, and then seeing them create an experience together. It's very rewarding, for
Sure.
us.
So far I'm hearing parties, I'm hearing food, I'm hearing beer. You must hate your job, right?
My wife.
That's really fascinating, because there's a lot of viewers that watch and say, "Hey, I want to do this, I want to do that." So tell us about that. How do you get into the business that you're doing? Not necessarily open up a microbrewery, but how do you even engage and get started? And then do you bring in interns to help teach them the business? What does that look like?
Yeah. So we had the like I mentioned at the a few moments ago, like we never had the actual experience of running a brewery before we started running the brewery. So as you can imagine, there was a lot of curve of learning in there, but that also allow us to learn, the path of like the steps, that you need to take to be able to make a decision if you want to be in this career or in this industry as a career. Like the beauty about what we do is that there's always an entry level that it's for everyone.
Right.
Like my invitation is like, if you have an intrigue, about hospitality, about brewing, about related to what it's the hospitality industry, like, just don't be afraid to try it.
Right.
Because like you mentioned, there we have, and other breweries have a positionings of internship, where it's a great space because it's an open book, and it allows people to like know more about the ins and outs of the industry before they maybe make a decision of investing, their savings or part of, their whatever they have available into start growing a business of their own, and I think that part of the challenge is when you go not into only in industry, not only in hospitality, but like any business, there's a lot of moments where people see themselves investing in something that they don't really know,
Right.
like what it takes to be successful on that. You just see that it's an industry that it's having maybe like a boom or a growth,
Right.
and then you have people like putting money into it. But then when you get into it, you start seeing, what
The
it really
result of
takes,
it.
and in this case, there has to be a lot of passion,
Yeah.
because it's definitely a very labor intensive, industry. At the beginning, it require, 80-hour weeks and all that stuff because you need to be there to understand, like what the guests want, what
Right.
the team requires to be happy, motivated, and yeah. So internships for sure, it's a great way to start.
And I think you said it very key because it's an experience. So similar to going to, let's say, I'm not going to compare Starbucks with what you're doing, but it's not just a product that you're selling. You're selling a lifestyle and an experience, and it's all tied together.
Yeah.
So you're not just learning how to sell one thing off a shelf, but you're learning how to integrate with people, how to talk to people, how to develop this whole lifestyle, which I think is phenomenal. So it's a career path that you could take, I guess.
Yeah, 100%. And of course, it's not comparable, right? But at the same time, like we see a lot, like we try to learn,
Yeah.
from these big corporations and these
Yeah.
big companies because, like, what they do, it's not easy.
Right.
Like that experience of like no matter which Starbucks you're gonna go, you're gonna get that same feeling, that same coffee, that same attention.
Right.
Like those are things that are very, very hard to accomplish. So we do see ourselves or try to learn, from
Yeah.
these places that have a very strict method, and we try to adapt it to our culture.
Yeah, and I think it's not only the culture, but you're also very tied into the community, and that's why I go to you because if I go to a corporate place, I get that, but if I go to Tripping Animals, I get such more.
They know you. Your
right,
family.
they know me. It's a welcome experience. Tell us about the collaborations that you guys always work with, because I know you do a lot of partnerships, not only with the community, but other different artists and things like that, marketing collaborations. Tell us.
Even other breweries.
Yes, which is something that, it's funny because usually, let's call it like someone doing the same thing that you're doing in any other circumstances is competition,
Right.
and in business, a competitor is someone that you're not going to share your secrets, you're not going to share your recipes, you're going to be jealous,
Mhm.
But when we dig into this industry, and I think it's one of the reasons that we fall in love with it, it was just kind of like just going into places of people doing the same thing that we wanted to do, but everyone being an open book, because it was more a thing of educating customers
Sure.
and educating ourselves more than competing between each other. So with that opportunity, it also opened all these doors, right, to get involved with different groups and different arts, from our local community, like as local as Doral or as local as Miami. So we also saw that, going back to the part of the experience, that we just didn't want to be a place where people would go have a beer and leave.
Right.
We wanted to create something else, and the collaborations were a huge part of it. So we have done collaborations with clothing stores, like for example Miami, legendary spots but beyond that one, we have done many collaborations with different chefs. We have done collaboration now with running clubs, with art groups, with artists. So like the space is there, there's a lot of hours of the day that it's not being used. So every time that there's someone that comes with an idea, of like, hey, I play violin, to put an example, right? And I want to bring some friends and play some violin. We're like, hey man, like, why not in a space where like we can allow them to do it and not interfere? Why not open that space for that?
Yeah,
You
great
know?
idea.
And that has opened many doors, and not only in the collaboration with businesses, but also being able to collaborate to give back to the community.
Right.
Well, tell us a little bit about that. You and your partners
Yes.
have come up with an incredible idea. And in the wanting to be transparent, my charity is actually one of the people who is going to benefit from it. But tell us about what you're doing to give back to the community, this program that you're going to be launching.
Yes, that's something that makes us very happy and proud, because since we started, part of our recipe has always been being grateful. Like part of our philosophy, it's always like being grateful with everything that happens, and always being able to give back. Either from a very small thing to a bigger thing, or just like being there for someone. We have always tried to give back, right? But as we grow, we were like, okay, it feels now that it needs to be a little bit more, solid, with a little bit more structure, and kind of like how you make an intention into something that it's more tangible and that it's more powerful, right? So we created the Everhaze for Florida. Everhaze, it's one of our core beers. It's a hazy IPA. And we have been running with this idea for many years, and finally this year, we launched it. So basically, what we did is we divide the year in the 4 quarters, and we partnered up with 4 different organizations that support, different causes, right? For example, from helping, kids with less privilege to access to education, to wildlife, to mental health. So we create Everhaze for Florida, where basically what we're doing is that we're donating $1 out of each case that we sell in distribution, in partnership with our distributor, that it's Greenlight, and they're helping us, deliver all those cases and make all that stuff. So we launched it this year, and it has been amazing because we gave our first check to the guys from Miami Waterkeepers, that we have been doing a lot of beach cleanups and a lot of education about our waters on the Everglades and all that, stuff that sometimes we don't have even the time to stop and learn how these things impact our life,
Right. Absolutely.
which is what you do with your organization, right? You impact people's life in a positive way, that maybe that is beautiful to be able to do that, So
Now, I understand not only are you doing that, but Greenlight is matching it.
correct. So it's also part of the beauty of it, like the more the better, right?
Sure.
And I think part of having success in your business is to keep in mind that you need to give back.
Yeah.
And not just to do it, but to, with a purpose that goes beyond of just having a picture.
No, and I think it's not only are you an important part of the community, but you're showing where your heart is when you give back to the community too, right?
Correct.
It's easy to keep all the profits in your pocket. It's harder to spread the wealth and make sure that you can share that in the community. So it's really important.
Correct. Yeah, and that's the part where we say we're blessed, right? You need to be able to. Yeah, you need to be able to be in a position, to do that. So that's why we work hard every day, every week to be on a better position and to be able to help more.
That's wonderful. So we always talk about, one of the things we talk about here is the change in the business landscape, but in life landscape, and we focus in on AI. As an example, okay? So I've been using AI. You're probably using AI. And so tell us how, 2 things I want to know. Is Tripping Animals using AI for their business? And are you using it personally? And where do you see this happening Where does AI find a place in microbreweries? Tell us about that. What do you think on that whole thing?
Yeah, no, I think that's a great topic, especially with the name of of the podcast being forward motion.
Right.
It's AI. It's a reality. It's no longer something that it sounds like, oh, what's that gonna look like? No, it's like it's here. It's in our phones. It's already in our life, and we use it. In our daily task. And I think that the perception of like AI taking over people's job and all that stuff, like at least right now, it's not necessarily the right focus, because how we see AI or how we use AI is just to make more efficient and better results for the people developing the task, more than being able to take over, fully of one person's labor. Right. So, for example, like we're from Venezuela, correct? So, sometimes something as easy as like writing an email, when it's a little bit more elaborate or a little bit more formal, it can take maybe 2 hours.
Yeah, well,
right?
English
Before.
is not your first language.
Correct. Right. And you want to make sure, because that's something that I've learned, right? Like putting a word that might have a different meaning, it can be a problem.
Well, I grew up with English and I can't write a good email, so don't feel too bad about that. I wouldn't.
Well, they're writing while they're drinking.
That's a little more challenging.
Maybe it's a little bit easier.
It starts writing French, and it's like, oh man, how did that happen? But like those as simple tasks as that, like AI is already fully integrated in Gmail and all that stuff. So at least on a personal level, I use it on that, and I feel super happy of like how like an extra step, as a professional it gives. And then also I feel that everyone should take away like any idea that it has from it and just start using it. Right. Because he just, and I had a great conversation with my dad about it, because he wasn't too familiarized. And then I told him like give me an idea that you have in your head right now, right? And he's like, oh, is it possible to sell, I don't know, puppies in Peru, but whatever, like it's t-shirts from China to this country, and you just put that prompt, and then suddenly a thought process that can take weeks, months, just to like get that head start, right? Because sometimes the business ideas is just like one moment of a flash that you're like, oh, what about this? Or something that you see. Now, instead of taking all this time to like sit down, develop it, boom, it just gives you a head start. And that's how I see AI. It's just giving us a head start. You know?
And I like your perspective, because as we start getting more into, I push the phrase human last, meaning AI first, but human last, because the human always has to execute it and stuff like this. So it is a tool that you can use to make you better, right? To help you sell t-shirts and wherever it is, but it's not going to do the work for you. You still got to get up at 5 o'clock and, turn on the brewery and all that stuff. And you still got to do all that. That's good. And then do you think it has a role yet in the microbrewery industry? You see it playing a role there somehow?
100%. 100%. I feel like, and like I see it from a lot of breweries that maybe are maximizing their resources of like now, they're generating labels, with AI. You can generate a flow of work with AI. You can do many things with AI. I know that we are not using it to its maximal potential, even though we are, young still. This is also like, we're almost like behind in this, generation of people that are growing and learning with AI.
Sure.
For us, we're still kind of like, how does this work? Sometimes you forget that it exists, like, so we're still, getting familiarized with it. I feel it's also a beautiful moment for it, because there's new tools coming every day, every week, and every day there's something new.
It's amazing how quickly things are changing.
Yes.
It's amazing. It's exciting too.
Yeah, like yesterday I had a friend of mine that I randomly met in Orlando, that he's working with a company that has robots for service in restaurants, right? So they have like a buzzer robot and a food runner robot, right? So he wanted to show us and like what it's all about. And in my head, I was thinking like, oh, this is something that, you know, might take up a salary out of the payroll, you know, like that was my first conception, right? And then like after seeing it in the warehouse yesterday, like it's like, no, like right now, all of these things that are being created, it's not to take away jobs. It's to allow the businesses to be more efficient and if they do a good job, make more money, right? More than taking a cost away.
Right.
You know, and that was something that as I was being there yesterday, I'm like, yeah, I think like that's what the intention of this new wave
I
of
think so.
technology is,
I
right?
agree.
It's like how can we make more money with the same resources, but counting now with these tools
Mhm.
more than taking people from, you know, from a
Very good
specific
perspective.
task.
Yeah, very good perspective.
Yeah.
So we want to thank you for joining us. Where should someone go learn more about the charities? Is there a website that they can
Yeah,
go to?
for sure. So thank you guys again for the invitation.
Mhm.
You know,
Our pleasure.
we are very proud and we feel honored, you know, to be able to share here with you guys. You know, like I was mentioning, FIU, we have an alumni that you know that he graduated from here from the marketing department, and marketing is our number one thing that everybody praises. So you guys did a great job in here. And to learn more about us, our initiatives, definitely your website. So www at trippinganimals.com. At Tripping Animals. You
Yeah,
guys got
Tripping
it.
Animals.com. We're gonna put it down.
Yeah, exactly. Just trippinganimals.com. In there, you can see all of our project with Everhaze for Florida. You're also going to be able to see all the future events that we have lined up. And then our social media, you know, Instagram. That's also a place where we constantly put a lot of information. And in there, you're also going to see that we have another location in Oakland Park. So in Broward, we have a smaller tasting room. And yeah, you know, just take at the moment to invite everyone to check us out, visit us in their tap room.
This calls for more research.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to spend the night at
Doing
like an
some-
on-site.
doing- doing some
interview.
research.
Yeah.
Research is important. Yes.
Yes.
Well, thank you so
it.
much for joining. All right, I really
Okay,
appreciate
thank you
it.
so much.
Thank you for coming.
Well, thank you so much, guys.
My
Well,
pleasure.
Thanks everyone for joining us. I'm Professor Ken,
And I'm Professor Paul Marino.
and we'll see you out there.